In 2020, Jordan Brand came out with the Jordan 1 UNC to Chicago, obviously paying tribute to Michael Jordan's journey from the University of North Carolina to the Chicago Bulls. And Jordan Brand, with all their creativity and innovation, they decided to trim that shoe down, make it a Jordan 1 Low OG, and that's all they did. But I love it. Air Jordan 1 Low OG, UNC to Chicago. Now this shoe, just like the 2020 Jordan 1 High UNC to Chicago, is a women's exclusive. This is dropping on July 26th for $140 in the United States. And there's actually another Jordan 1 High UNC to Chicago that released around the same time. I can't quite remember what year it was, but that was a white base layer. And it also had patent leather instead of just leather. Never really loved that shoe that much. Don't generally like patent leather that much. So I'm glad I have these in hand. I did miss out in 2020 with the Jordan 1 High UNC to Chicago, so I'm glad to finally get an iteration of that shoe in hand. Now my first impression of the shoe, definitely like the colorway, this UNC to Chicago theme. I'm a sucker for UNC blue especially, so I like the shoe. However, like a week after this shoe's dropping, another Jordan 1 Low OG is releasing, and that's definitely the one I'm looking forward to more than this one. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And of course, the red represents Chicago, and the blue represents the University of North Carolina, the school Michael Jordan went to. And the upper sole of this shoe, it's all leather, and the leather on this shoe is super nice, especially for an Air Jordan 1. Because a lot of times, Jordan Brand shoes, the overlays, they'll use like cheaped out leather or synthetic leather instead. But this shoe, oof, the leather all over is outstanding. When I press down, when I touch it, it's super soft. I love the leather on this shoe. I'm very pleasantly surprised. And on the swoosh, you'll see that tumbled leather, which I think it's a little bit overdone, but in small amounts, it's not too bad. It's not like all over the shoe, but in general, this is a very welcome surprise, and I don't know why Jordan Brand can't just do that for every single Jordan Brand shoe. And you see on the tip of the tongue, on the tag, you see Nike Air branding. I wonder why they chose red over blue. Don't know how they decide that, but it's red. And on the booty of the shoe, you see that Wings logo on the heel. And unlike usual Jordan 1s where you see that debossed Wings logo on the ankle collar, this Wings logo is more like printed onto the shoe instead of debossed. Don't love that as much. I like it when it's like in the shoe. It just feels and looks better in my opinion, but very little detail, not a huge deal breaker. And here's where I have to point out the differences between an Air Jordan 1 non-OG versus an Air Jordan 1 Low OG. So the most glaring difference is the tongue. You see on the non-OG, the tongue is much longer, much more prominent, and on the OG version of the shoe, it is much more subdued. And you also see the shape of the Jordan 1 Low OG is slightly more slender, slightly sleeker. And lastly, as I alluded to earlier, the Wings logo on the OG version of the shoe is on the heel instead of the heel counter that you see on the non-OG version of the shoe. And removing the non-OG versus OG whole debate, just in terms of the aesthetics, I think the OG version of the shoe is just much better. However, this still isn't the same as the Jordan 1 Low 85 cut. The 85 cut actually has an extra eyelet with 8 eyelets. The OG version of the shoe only has 7. I don't know why they just can't make it 8. Just make it the same exact shoe. And this shoe comes with a white midsole. Very glad they didn't go with a sail midsole. I think the white really pops, especially with a predominantly black sneaker. This white looks very clean. And like other Jordan 1 Lows, this comes with a rubber cup sole with a Nike Air unit on the heel. Very minimal cushioning with a generic insole. The technology on this shoe is very old, so can't expect too much from a Jordan 1 Low. And of course the iconic Jordan 1 rubber outsole. And again, I wonder why they went with red for the outsole instead of the blue. Don't know how they picked between the two, but as someone that is a UNC blue fan, it's my favorite color on sneakers. Might be a little biased here. I would have liked to see what it would look like with a UNC blue outsole. Now this shoe does come with an extra set of red laces, and again, I wonder how they chose the red laces over the blue. It really feels like they're preferring the red over the UNC blue for this shoe. In general though, I don't mind the black default laces that come with this shoe. I think red would look really nice. It'll make this shoe kind of pop. I think even white laces would make this shoe pop a lot to match the midsole. Regardless, there's a ton of options on a shoe like this. I think the black default laces work just perfectly. This shoe also comes with a Nike Air hang tag in that same red that you see on the shoe. Again, preferring the red over my favorite UNC blue. I can see the bias. This is like me and my brother. There was always a clear favorite because one person had superb grades and one person didn't. And I definitely didn't have superb grades, so you can guess who was the favorite. I feel like Jordan Brand are favoring a certain color over the other on the shoe. Box of the shoe, a very standard Air Jordan 1 box. Again, I've said this before for past UNC colorways or UNC to Chicago colorways. I think there's just more they can do. Like the Air Jordan 1 Skyline, I know that was more like a special release. They came with a super nice box. I think they can start doing that with the UNC to Chicago colorways, but who am I? Inside the shoe, exactly what you would expect. Now moving on to size and comfort, I'm a size 9.5 true to size. I do have wide feet. However, for Jordan 1s, I generally go true to size. I think it fits pretty well. Jordan 1 lows in general, I think has slightly less padding than the Jordan 1 highs. I always love a thickly padded ankle collar like the Jordan 2 lows. This shoe, the Jordan 1 lows, definitely feels a bit thin around the ankle collar. The toe box area initially might feel a little stiff, a little too tight for wide footers. However, stick through it, it'll break in, especially with leather this soft. In terms of the sizing, if you've never worn a Jordan 1 low before, I would compare it to something like the Nike Dunk Low. It came out around the same time when this shoe came out, so the technology and the shape and the silhouette, very similar. I think you can use that as a benchmark. I know some people that don't have wide feet might consider going down half a size for the Jordan 1 lows. I only have wide feet. Don't know what it feels like not to have wide feet, but I think based on what I've seen, you couldn't go wrong going true to size or down half a size if you don't have wide feet for the Jordan 1 lows. Now in terms of comfort, the materials and leather on the shoe is super soft, so it actually helps the comfort of the overall shoe a little bit. It just feels nicer on feet. However, the Jordan 1 low, it's not the most comfortable shoe in a vacuum, especially compared to modern day shoes. Technology has advanced so much more, especially the insoles, the midsoles. It just doesn't really compare. You could still wear it for like a full day, no problems, but the flatness to the ground, that might deter some people. For me, I prefer flatter shoes because I do have a bad back and bad knees, but it is still very flat, even for me. And if you're someone that's not like in love with sneakers and just looking for a practical, comfortable, functional shoe, the Jordan 1's probably not the one for you. Now that brings the total sole score to 16 out of 25, right around average compared to other general releases. And if you want to know the sole score for every single shoe that I've ever reviewed, just go to soleinclined.com and it's all there. In terms of colorway, I know black sneakers aren't everyone's thing, but for me personally, I do generally like black sneakers, and with the two colors on the shoe, the red and the UNC blue, they're like staples for Jordan Brand nowadays. They just look like they belong. I think the color combination works really well, especially the tongue with that red and black tag. I think that really pops. In terms of colorway, I really like this shoe. Now material wise, this is the biggest and most pleasant surprise when I got the shoe in hand. The softness of this leather, all around, even the overlays, even the heel counter, just everywhere. I love it. I don't think it's like super premium, but for a Jordan 1 low, I'm definitely very happy with the leather on the shoe. Comfort wise, like I said before, the Jordan 1 low is not the most comfortable shoe. It's okay, like in a vacuum if you had to wear it for a whole day, it does fine. Compared to other modern day shoes, kind of pales in comparison. But the softness of the leather, I think that helps a bit. It just feels better on feet. Now, versatility-wise, Jordan 1 Low, obviously one of the most versatile silhouettes and shoes of all time. It's timeless, it's classic, it's lived on for 30 plus years, and it's still very popular for a good reason. It's very easy to wear, it's versatile, and in terms of this colorway, I can see some people not thinking this colorway is very versatile. The red and blue might be a bit too much for some people, and I know a lot of people don't like the toe box colored, like they prefer the toe box white. And especially with a predominantly black sneaker, I think most people in general, like speaking in generalizations, they prefer a white base color. So the black sneaker might put some people off. For me, I think it's a versatile colorway, but if I'm being objective, I can see some people having the shoes pairing the shoe with other outfits. Storytelling wise, I do like the whole UNC to Chicago theme. I think it was a smart idea to begin with. Obviously, it's been done so many times now, so we're kind of used to it. But if you're new to sneakers, if you're new to this colorway, it might be a refreshing idea. So I like that. However, nothing else as part of this shoe really tells that story. The box, it's a very normal Jordan 1 box, so I think there's a bit of opportunity for storytelling for this shoe. The UNC to Chicago colorway has been done so many times now, and I was starting to get a little stale, a little bored of it. However, with so many sneakers, when I got these in hand, with the really nice leather on the Jordan 1 Low, I just can't help but really like it. I don't know what it is. There's just always some gravity to certain shoes where you think you might not love it, where you think you're kind of getting bored of the theme, but then it pulls you back in. And that's what this shoe has done again. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Sole Inclined. Let me know what you think of the Air Jordan 1 Low UNC to Chicago. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes